Hey guys, while grading night essays over the break, I noticed that we needed to go over the proper structure of an introduction. So I created this screencast so you would be able to view while you were revising your essays and submitting them again for recovery. If you have any questions, please don't forget to email me at hwickham@paulding.k12.ga.us. So going over the structure of an introductory paragraph, the first thing that you need to include is an attention grabber. This is something that can be from 1 to 2 sentences, and it can be a series of questions and anecdote which tells a brief story, a startling, unusual fact or figure, quotation, definition of a subject-related term. I saw some questioning about what are human rights. Do you know what human rights are? Have you ever had your human rights abused? Some startling facts I saw people list were the fact that over 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust, or over 11 million people were killed during the Holocaust. A few people provided quotations from various people about the Holocaust or human rights, and then finally giving me Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that we have these different types of rights. Second thing that you would need to include is present topic and background information. This is where you would give me the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and you would provide information about night. A lot of people forgot to reference and state Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is where you show that the rights were being violated from night. People forgot to include Elie Wiesel as the writer of night and tell me that that's where they were getting their information from. So a lot of people need to go back and make sure that you have both of these presenting information and background information from these two texts. This leads into and includes your thesis statement, which is your final piece. People were forgetting to include your thesis statement, which again provides focus for the entire essay. You're not going to tell me I want to tell you that. Don't insert yourself in formal writing. I know you think or feel these things because you are writing it, so you need to figure out a way to construct it so it makes sense. Again, it's a specific subject and then specific feelings. Elie Wiesel writes Night, which shows how human rights were violated during the Holocaust. Is a sufficient thesis statement, which I provided on the board while we were writing. It is usually the last sentence of your introduction. It does fit as a roadmap for the body paragraphs. However, it's not a blueprint essay, so it's not going to include the 3 main points. I would just say how it violated human rights, and then in each body paragraph you talk to me about how the human rights were violated. This is a student example of an introduction. Though brief, it does at least provide some of the information required for a proper introduction of a essay. We have the attention grabber is just some information during the Holocaust. Jews were dehumanized and stripped of their rights in many ways. This is when I would say, well, what rights are you referring to? They did not include the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Some information they did include is Elie Wiesel explains the terror given to Jews from 1933 to 1945. The dates they've provided are actually the dates for World War II. Wiesel documents his time in the concentration camp from 44 to 45, and this is something that I made a comment on the student's essay. Hitler took away all of human rights given to people from the Jews, and finally their thesis statement, Nobel Peace Prize recipient Elie Wiesel explains how many human rights were taken away with the book Night. They at least met the requirements for an introduction. There's always room for improvement. However, it does give you a basic idea of what should be included. Here is a second example of an introductory paragraph. They do have some sort of an attention grabber. As most people may know, the Holocaust was a cruel genocide that dehumanized millions of Jewish people. The information about the background, and now we have laws and rights that prohibit these horrendous events. These rights are called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are 30 in total. It's a fragment. They should have put that in two different sentences or reworded it differently. However, at least they've introduced it. They also should have included the last sentence. All the torture and pain he faced was because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were not established yet to take place and protect the Jews. And finally, his thesis statement. In the book, Night, Elie Wiesel tells about his terrible experiences of being in a concentration camp. So somehow they needed to combine saying how Wiesel tells about his experiences and how they violate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But at least it gives you an idea. I didn't comment on the last one, but I want you guys to know the only thing I changed on these student essays was the fact that I removed their name. Everything else I kept just so you could see the different student examples and what students did right and how they have room for improvement. This student worked really hard in making sure to have a rough draft prior to submitting their final essay. I was able to go through and revise some of the things, so I know that they worked hard and deserve the credit that they receive. Their attention grabber, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is meant to protect everyone's basic rights. The human rights are supposed to prevent people from anguish. Millions of Jews were tortured because of who they were, which is discrimination. Over 6 million Jews were killed, nearly wiping out the Jewish population. If no one enforced our human rights, then the world would be in total chaos. Their thesis statement in the memoir Night, Elie Wiesel shows how the victims of the Holocaust were dehumanized by focusing on the rights from the UDHR. Here, their thesis statement shows all of the elements to receive full credit in everything that they needed to do and provides information about the Holocaust, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and how Wiesel writes Night and shows with their example continuing. So finally, just to look at the fact that you have an attention grabber, you are providing information about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It does go in quotation marks the first time that you would spell all of it out, and then afterwards you can just reference it as the UDHR, and then giving Night. It should be italicized. I'm underlining it here because I'm writing it out and I can't show something that is italicized in my handwriting. I did not see a lot of people properly italicize Night, so please make sure you go through your essay and make those corrections. And then last but not least, a thesis statement. You're more than welcome to use a generic thesis statement that you've seen or that I provided for you, but please make sure that your essay includes a thesis statement. Good luck.